Okay. All right. Good morning. Welcome again to Academic Advising Week. Still playing around with the teams here. Hopefully, you can all see my PowerPoint. So the topic, as we see here, is underlined here. A couple of things that I will be going over. Starts with kind of department updates, and then we'll do some degree updates and why AE and AS, reasons to meet with your faculty, department contacts. We'll look at spring registration as we get ready for that. And that was actually really kind of the main highlights I wanted to go over today. But I also use this opportunity for kind of a quick advising session on surviving engineering. So please feel free again to ask questions. I'll be checking the Q&As as we go through here. I want this to be very informal and very interactive. So please feel free to send your questions. All right. So next here, and probably need to get into presentation mode. So then you can all, I'll do that and I'll switch back to this here. So let's get into a presentation mode here from current slide. Okay. All right, so again, these are the topics that I'm gonna go over. Let's start with some departmental updates. What is happening within our department due to the COVID? There's three main areas that I'm gonna go over. So the first one, of course, is our teaching styles. Teaching styles has definitely changed due to COVID. We're using the terms synchronous and asynchronous sometimes at the same time, but really mean two different things. And it's very, very important to understand what the difference are. Very quickly, kind of a very simple way to explain this is synchronous. You have to think about it as live, right? Just like you're in a class, or just as I'm doing right now. It could be asynchronous if you're online listening to me, and then asynchronous, it's not live, it's a recorded session. So I think those are the two main differences. A quick definition is what I provide here, but what are the advantages? They both have the advantages. I actually would not say anything about disadvantages at this point because they all have the advantages. Synchronous, if you're a student that wants live sessions all the time, that is probably the best model that you will probably prefer. Asynchronous is if you're probably working and you cannot do any live sessions during the day, you rather have your lectures recorded. So again, I'm not looking at any cons here, just presenting the pros for you. And I'm sure if you're already in one of this semester that you know how that works. Okay, moving on, the other component that we've kind of updated is advising. Usually I always address this in three ways. I said advising that we do within our department as an engineering is academic, personal, and career. And what I mean by that is everybody does academic advising, right? Everybody can help you check on, how you're doing academically, or if you want to know, how can I take this course? How can I prepare long-term, short-term? Help me plan my coursework. Okay, so everybody does that, or I should say most people do that. We include the personal because it helps us know you, right? And also for our discipline, there's a lot of surviving skills that we need within engineering that helps if you share a little bit of how you learn or a little bit about yourself so we can better help you. And of course, there's a third component, which is the career. Our faculty, most of our faculty have industrial background, so we are able to actually help, including myself, coming from an industrial background, kind of know what is out there, know the market also very well. So when it comes to advising in our department, I kind of want to make sure that these are all connected, right? So we don't separate them for better advising. So far as the advising itself, we use stem@waketech.edu, which I'll get into, is our #1 point of contact to anybody within our department. You send an email to this, and we have an administrative person who actually checks those emails. You can get responses definitely within 24 hours, and it will address and also direct your question to the right person if needed. So the first thing is, again, sending the email here, and then you get a response, and we schedule an appointment. And then, of course, the next step is meeting with a faculty or staff. With advising also, since now it's virtual, I kind of saw this somewhere, and I said, this is good, I'd like to share it. Of course, the ultimate goal here is to enhance our student success, which is point A, and we're also making use of the tools that we have. Mainly right now is through the Teams, and if we have Blackboard, I'm going to touch on Blackboard here, but every information that we get, we can share with you, we can share with other students, and it's helping us connect more really with students. How are we doing all this with the current tools that we have? Of course, it's a discussion board. Students are utilizing the discussion board more than they've ever had in the past, and it's very good. So again, in a nutshell, that is kind of what we're doing here so far as advising goes. I'm going to do something here very quickly so I can check the Q&A here, since I'm not seeing everything on here unless I kind of get out of presentation mode here. So, all right, so it looks like I'm not seeing anything in the, oh, actually, sorry, I just saw it. Okay, so I'm here. I got a thing from Linda, said I'm here. Good morning, Linda. And I see Hanan, and I see Anonymous, we can see it. Okay, so that's good. So at least I know you all seen this presentation. So I will keep going, and I will keep checking the Q&A as I move on. All right, so I'm going to switch back again into the presentation mode here, and then all right, so we're going to continue from the current slide. All right, so the last we did advising. The other update for our department has to do with the testing. This has been a very big concern to, now that everything is virtual, how do we do our testing, and also to make sure that we're keeping the integrity of our exams intact. How best can we do this? We actually have two models here, which we've tried out, and it works great for our department. One is the timed exams, where faculty using Blackboard will time your exams, even though there's a window when you start within the duration. If it's an hour, it will stop within an hour, and that seems to be working very well. The other component is we do actually have face-to-face proctored exams. Actually, we're doing one this afternoon. It will be very well spaced, and if we need more rooms to do that, this afternoon we're actually doing one with 3 rooms, because we can only have 10 people in a room at a time. So that's again, due to COVID, that's what we're doing right now so far as testing goes. All right, so that is it for so far as departmental updates goes. For degree updates, there isn't much that we're doing here independently within our department. Really, anything that has to do with the degree updates is a campus-wide decision. One is very soon the e-learning intro, which used to be if you were only doing anything online, is when you get to go on. Is going to make sense. Now almost everybody's online, so it will be a required for all students to kind of go through this ELI before registering for our online courses. So again, that's something, it's an update, not specifically for our department, but across the campus. CEQs are still going on for every course that you register for. And additionally, for our labs, we do have a couple of labs that you come in and meet face to face. That is through our hybrid sections. And our hybrids, because of the lab, since it's going to be or has specific dates and times, it is almost like a synchronous. So if you remember the first slide that I showed with respect to the different models of teaching. It has synchronous and asynchronous, had hybrid, and the needed synchronous. So that is what that is. And of course, as we're moving forward, one update, which is within our department, is we used to have competitions for our Intro to Engineering course, which we call the EGR 150. Unfortunately, since we went virtual, we haven't been doing it. But in the spring, that is something that we are looking into so far as making it a virtual competition. So we can keep that going. It is a very big component of this course here, so we have to find a way to get it going. Okay. The other question that we get is why AE versus AS? Very quickly, I have 3 points here. The very first one, of course, is a flexibility and providing the option. If a student wants to kind of focus on AE, which is Associate of Engineering, we actually encourage the students to also kind of apply for AS. The next point is actually the general education requirements, which is kind of why we encourage students to do that. But really, it also provides the option vice versa. If a student is majoring in AE, but then at some point says, you know what, I actually don't feel like doing the engineering anymore, they can easily switch to the AS without having to retake any courses, because most of our courses are actually aligned. And also, if you know, you're not decided yet, and you're like, let me take them both, and then you know, I'll focus on my AS, but maybe at some point I can switch to an AE. That will help as well. So that is probably one of the main advantages about that, about doing that. The second one, as I already mentioned, is the general education fulfillment. You fulfill both, you know, through the AE and the AS, you're fulfilling the general education requirements. So when you make the switch, again, you don't lose anything from those two. So usually with our AE students, even those who do not declare AS, at the end, when they are getting ready to apply for their degree or for graduation, they're like, oh, it looks like I've done everything the AS, you know, can I get a dual degree? And of course, the answer is always yes. You know, you've almost done everything with that. Last but not the least, there are actually a few courses, very few, even though so far as financial aid goes, when you come in and you declare AE, for example, calculus, we start from calculus 1, so pre-calculus is not part of our program, but however, it is under financial aid, it is covered under AS. So again, while this is not one of the main reason for students to kind of pick or declare both AE and AS, it's actually a component that could help if you happen to run into that situation where you're coming in without calculus 1. Okay. Reasons to meet with your faculty advisor, of course, you know, it's very, very important. No matter how well you think you've got everything under control, you know, you have to take advantage of meeting your faculty. You know, there's always going to be something they can advise you on. Unfortunately, we can't do this anymore, which used to be really, really good. As I mentioned previously, when it comes to advising, we're looking at the academic, personal, and of course, career. I call it APC. But yeah, you know, getting face-to-face, you know, with your faculty helping you actually usually brings out a lot more than you ever imagine, and it helps build a lot of relationship and communication. But unfortunately, we can't do that. But that doesn't mean we cannot still continue that process. There's the other way we could do that now, virtually. So yes, a couple of reasons here, and actually I got this from the advising committee here at Wake Tech. Gave me some of these points here, and I kind of added a few to it myself. Is avoiding registration hold, of course, is a very big one. Course and degree planning is also very, very important. Transfer planning, very specific to our program, by the way. And also your career goal setting kind of falls right into the APC that I mentioned before, and addressing questions and concerns could also be very personal. So in a nutshell, I say remember your APC, all right, with academic, personal, career. So these are a couple of reasons you want to kind of set up an appointment with your faculty advisor. All right, so before I do this, once again, let me stop this here to check the Q&A very quickly again. All right, so I see the attendees it's gone up. I'm not seeing any questions yet, so I'll keep going on with the presentation. Maybe at this point here, since I'm almost done, if you have any questions, I will suggest you wait till the end of the presentation then to ask your questions, so then I don't switch back and forth again. All right. Go back to the presentation, and we're gonna start from the current slide. Okay, so department contacts and when it's appropriate to contact them. This is it for us. I already mentioned this here. We do this for a couple of reasons. It's not because we don't want you contacting us directly. We found this method and process being more effective, right? If you send me an email, sometimes I'm probably covering something and I won't get to that email immediately. But through this here, as I mentioned, we do have a staff person who monitors this constantly. So it's probably the quickest way to get in contact with us, and you can use this anytime you want to reach out with any questions that you have. So probably, again, that is the best way to contact us, is using the stem@wictech.edu. Spring registrations, as we get ready here, I think a big part of this is going to be your experience this fall. What are you taking out of this fall here? And I think the big one is the different teaching styles and the different teaching modes. So that is probably one of my biggest highlights, is what are you taking from this fall, having tried out the different models, what works best for you. So as we get ready, if a quick few reminders here, the expectations about course offerings. Now, hopefully you're familiar with the different styles, different modes, exams, how those are all being done. When it's a good time to reach out to your faculty. So it's pretty early, but it's never too late. If right now you're still thinking about your spring and what you could do for us, you could just send an email to STEM, again, @wictech.edu, and then see if you could get somebody to help you plan your spring. Yes, you do need to keep checking your self-service for spring registration dates and time. Unfortunately, this semester had a little incident here with a student saying, I had no idea when fall semester was going to start and nobody told me, right? So there are constant reminders all over the place, your faculty, also on our website, to tell you when the semesters are going to start. And of course, the spring catalog is also available. It will be released October 22nd. Sorry, it's not available. It will be released October 22nd. So far as reminder goes, again, my biggest one is understanding your preference. I think that's very, very important. At this point here, hopefully you know the difference between asynchronous and asynchronous, and you know what works best with your model, your schedule, so you can prepare better. So I think that's my thing here, is this fall semester, understanding the different teaching styles and picking one that works for you. So when you're registering in the spring, look in the comment sections. There's different courses defined very clearly, so you know what you're getting into. Okay, so far as other potential talking points, I'm going to go through this very quickly, one at a time. So far as career outcomes for our engineering majors, and then we'll look at transfer school choices within our program, types of engineering. And by the way, this could all be kind of a 30 minutes presentation, if not a 1 hour presentation, but I'll do my best to kind of go through it very effectively, but quickly. Okay. So the very first one, actually before COVID, I did a presentation on this here, which kind of covered all this, talking about why engineering. So this is highlighted in that. In a nutshell, I always tell my students, so far as engineering goes, even when at some point, almost 10 years ago, when our whole economy wasn't doing that great and people were getting laid off, people were, not finding work. Yes, it affected everyone, but it didn't last more than 2 years. So far as engineering goes, there's always that opportunity. You have to think about it this way. There's going to be innovation, right? There's innovation and there's always new innovation. So there is old innovation that requires people to maintain, and there's new innovation that is always coming up that is also requiring new people. So there's two wells to our engineering career. So instead of going on and on about this here, I always tell students, you are almost guaranteed, right? Question is really going to be if you like the engineering field that you chose and you specialized in. But really, there's always opportunity for your degree in engineering. So I will leave that as that, really, for so far as outcomes for engineering majors goes. So for our transfer school choices, here are the different schools that we currently partner with in terms of transferring. We do have agreements, articulation agreement with almost all the schools here. I'm going to show you very quickly some of the required GPAs as you're getting ready to go into any of the schools. And I should also point out that depending on the discipline that you want to major in, some of the schools do not really cover all of them. Example is Asheville has two, and it's biomedical, and I believe is the chemical engineering. So it's not that broad. But if you want more details on this, you can send an email through STEM at Wake Tech for an advising to kind of go over this. So very quickly, I start off with kind of the overall required GPA requirement. For example, for Western, you need a very minimum of 2.5. And by the way, that's all I'm showing here, the minimums. And then we have Asheville, which is a 3.0. UNC Charlotte is a 2.5. East Carolina 2.8. A&T is 2.5. Campbell, I put XX here because the last time it was a 2.8, but I need to kind of reach out to them again to find out exactly what it is. That's why it's in X. But again, the last time I checked, it was around a 2.8. So just since I'm not 100% sure, I'm just using the XX. Of course, NC State is 3.5. And I also have a little note on here that says the GPAs shown here are overall GPAs. Specific programs will require more. For example, NC State for 3.5 will probably get you into some of their programs like civil and electrical. But I know mechanical is on a very, very high demand and usually requires about a 3.8. All right, so just FYI, that's the overall GPAs that I'm showing here, the minimums to get into those programs if you do decide to pick one of those as your transfer institutions. Types of engineering, engineers, again, I did a whole presentation on this here. I usually kind of get into, how to decide on which engineering you have to do. So I'm not going to be doing you any justice here, just kind of showing you this here without getting into too much detail, but also I'm not going to have time to do that. If you're still at a point where you say, I know I want to do engineering, I'm not sure what type of engineering I want to specialize in, you could do a couple of things. One is, of course, our EGR 150 course actually helps with that a little bit, but definitely just reach out, send an email to STEM at Wake Tech and say, I know I want to do engineering, but I'm not sure which one. And we'll be able to kind of help you, again, using our APC, right? Again, APC is Academic, Personal, and Career Advising Process. And we're able to kind of just have a normal conversation, asking the, very unique questions about your interest, kind of helps me and our faculty say, hey, you know what, this is probably where you want to focus on. But very quickly, just to show you the different branches of the engineering we have. And by the way, almost every single one of these branches has probably 5 at a very minimum sub branches. So for example, civil engineering can have 6 subsets, right? You can have geotechnical engineering, you can have structural engineering, you can have environmental engineering, and which one am I missing? I said geotechnical, structural, environmental. You have bridge engineering, transportation engineering. So yes, they all have their own different branches. Of course, mechanical, as you know, can have aerospace. So anyway, just again, very quickly, just going through this here. We're getting very close to the end of my presentation. I'm hoping that I can actually do more of a Q&A. The academic support organizations and activities, again, if you need help with your math, physics, and chemistry, probably the ILC is probably the best place to start. I'm sure you are aware of that. The STEM also center does help, focusing on more so your sciences and engineering. So that's kind of the STEM center is where we usually send our students, but just so you know, the ILC can also be a support. I can't stress it hard enough. STEM@waketech.edu again is the way to reach out to us for support. Our faculty this semester are using our discussion board very, very well and effectively. So if you are in their classes, your specific questions, if it cannot be answered at a STEM center, just get on their discussion board. It's very convenient. They can see the questions coming. They have their office hours as well posted for each course that they use their discussion board to discuss. So that would be a good way to start. Our engineering club, unfortunately, is currently not active because of COVID. We used to meet on Fridays and discuss different projects. It's very exciting club. We're hoping to revive it back again once we kind of figure how things work a little bit more. Everything is virtual now, so we definitely need to give some thought to engineering club being virtual, and we work on that. Usually, some of the other questions I get is or are organizations, or what engineering organizations can I be involved in? So I listed a couple. So these are some of the very well known and also very well participated engineering societies out there. American Society of Engineering Education, and almost every single one of the societies actually has a student chapter, right? So again, I highlighted some of the big ones. Society for Women Engineers, by the way, it's not only for women. I kind of always want to stress that as well. And then we have American Society for Mechanical Engineers. So usually these organizations actually have also student chapters on a lot of the campuses. We don't have any here yet, but we could hopefully, once things get back to normal, we could start with some of the big ones, or the one that is very inclusive, right, to all majors, which is why personally I prefer the ASEE, because that includes all the engineering, even though I'm a member of the American Society for Civil Engineers, and I'm also a member of ASEE, but those are the two that I'm currently involved in right now. So I just kind of pointed out a couple of organizations that you could be involved in. And by the way, you could be involved in any of these organizations by just going to their website and registering as a student. Okay, you don't have to wait till there's a chapter on campus. It helps if there's a chapter on campus, because sometimes there's discount rates for students, which you can still get those if you go to their main websites. Okay. Very quickly, then we're done. I was estimated this presentation to be not more than 30 minutes, but I think we're good, so I'll be wrapping up very quickly. So far as engineering, right? So I've had opportunity of trying different majors, and engineering is very unique, of course, in a sense that it's not a program, right? It's not an instructional mode where you're just going to memorize something one time and then you'll be okay the next day if you don't remember it. Unfortunately, that is not the case. when it comes to engineering. And also it requires good practice very early, right? And what I mean by that is your math, physics, and chemistry, you need to be on point with that. You cannot really cheat your way out of, when you're taking the basics, right? You got to learn the basics because you're just going to build on that. And I don't want to get too much into the cheating situation here, but just remember that these are the basics that you want to know very well. So you're doing your homework by yourself, you know how to do it. It helps you understand the basics. And also seek help immediately, right? On all three levels, either the academic, personal, career, whichever one it is. So far as our program goes, you need to seek that help very soon, very immediately. And that runs right into the advising, and we get into practice. That just referring to for everything that we do. So far as our assignments, I like to say for our program, engineering, you cannot read it. You really have to do some work, right? It's a very, very good novel if that requires hands-on. Let me put it that way, right? It's not a novel where you sit in the bed to read it, because again, that's not what comes with our discipline. Our discipline is, you getting down hands-on, and nothing is more exciting than you solving a problem and getting the problem and getting the right answer, and just having that inner joy that you did it. And it comes with a lot of practice, which, by the way, also will reflect on your exams. Role models, right? Your faculties, obviously, your faculty members are obviously your first role models. You talk to them, reach out to them. Don't forget, most of them have industrial background, so they do understand what is going on within our discipline. And last but not the least is you do need some constant communication within our discipline. There's no way you're going to be doing this by yourself and not communicating. You need constant communication, so somebody could tell you you're on track, you're off track, how do you get back on track? So you need to keep doing that constantly, all right? Okay, daily prioritization. I always say, just like the skill that I'm showing here, your work and life, even though people say, well, I've heard if you're doing engineering, you don't have any life. And that's not necessarily true, right? You have to put in the work. It is easy work. That's the way I put it. It's easy work, but that means you have to practice to get it. So I usually use this here, and I tell students, if you have to rate this here as, of course, we're talking about daily, so we have 24 hours in the day. How much sleep, how much time you put into your academic activities. You do need to kind of get a little break, so there's some leisure in there. Most of us students do work and go to school. Even if your academics full-time, you still have some part-time job to help with some expenses. So you could change these numbers the way you want it, but you have to make sure that it adds up to 24. And the ultimate goal here is to make sure that there is a balance, right? So we're kind of balancing what is life and what is work. And based on what I put on here, the only thing is the other component is the 2 hours, which could go either way. So I didn't assign it to any specific area, whether life or work, but the goal here is using this here. This is what your skills should look like, right? Work 12 hours, life 12 hours, if you could balance that. I know sometimes this black area here for work tends to get very, very big, right? And takes away some of the life, but the goal is to try to kind of balance things out a little bit. Again, contact is STEM at Wake Tech. Thank you for listening to my presentation. My name is Dr. Chris Orenden Aja, Department Head for Engineering. That is my email address if you have any specific questions. Again, STEM is better. I will get to emails, but probably not as quick as the response you'll be getting from STEM. But please feel free to send me an email. I will get to it at some point. That is also my direct phone number for my office. And at this point, I will, there's a question and discussion. I'm gonna end this here to go back into the Q&A sessions to see if there are any questions that anybody has. I'm also, by the way, going to stay on here if anybody has any questions. That, I'm going to stay on probably for about an hour or so. I do have a 2-hour period. Okay, so I'm looking at the questions here. Let me scroll down to see. Sorry, I am happy I scrolled down. There's a question about what about Chapel Hill? Because when I showed the transfer colleges on, I did not show Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill is on there. We're kind of in between because most of our students who want to go to Chapel Hill want to do computer science. And just recently, I reached out to Chapel Hill, and they do actually have 2 branches. I intentionally did not include Chapel Hill on there because I still need to finish that conversation with what are the 2 options for computer science students that want to go to Chapel Hill. But yes, if students have specific questions about Chapel Hill, you can email me and we'll address that. However, the minimum overall GPA requirement for Chapel Hill right now is also a 3.5 for their computer science. So thanks for the question. I didn't mean to just exclude it. I try very well with my presentations if there's any question marks to not just put it up front. So that's why I did not have that on there. So thanks for that question. The other question I have here is, what are some computer science subsets? Okay, so computer science, actually, let's take it back a little bit. Let's look at computer science and computer engineering, right? So those are 2 areas that usually students kind of want to know, what is the difference? Where do I go? Or I have students during advice and saying, oh, I want to do computer engineering. And I say, okay, this is what you have to do for computer engineering. And they go, oh, actually, I think then it is computer science. Or students say, I want to do computer science. And after some discussion, it goes to, oh, okay, actually, that's not what I was thinking about. It is computer engineering. So let's look at those 2 very quickly, and then maybe that will help with some of the subsets. Computer engineering, you have to think about hardware. All right, let me pause here a little bit. So my laptop, this desktop that we're using right now, those are all hardware, and it requires designing, okay? So when you look at that, yes, it's a bigger subset than computer science because you're not building a laptop, but you also need to know some of the functionalities that comes with the laptop. So it requires some programming. However, it is not that intense of a programming because your main goal is producing hardware, right? So if that is your thing, then of course you're looking at computer engineering. Again, this is a very quick description. Computer science, you're looking at mainly software. Okay, you're looking at all these different apps that are coming, designing different apps, designing different softwares, what they could do, right? You're not worried about the hardware component, even though it helps. So I hope this is a very quick kind of description or telling the difference between the 2. Some of the subsets in computer science, by the way, is that now that computers, innovation or technology or software is almost everywhere. There is nothing right now that we're going to do without looking at any software. Your homes, right? Now we have smart, everything's gone smart. So there is a huge subset for computer science. Now it comes down to, what do you want to program? What do you want to specialize in? Do you want to do industrial? Do you want to do residential? Right? So those are all different subsets, different areas you could go into. You could look at every single field that you could look at. And also, you're not limited to one area anyway, if you're very good in your programming and your design. So you don't have to specialize in, okay, I'm just going to focus on smart homes, building applications for just that. So, yeah. So I hope that helps. The other question here is, what are the best schools to transfer to for this program? Chapel Hill, like I said, is definitely, for our agreement, is with them is computer science. That's where most of our students want to go. So Chapel Hill is definitely up there. Every single one of our schools actually have now a computer science program. I'm going to pick Just three right now. NC State definitely has a very good computer science program with a required minimum GPA of a 3.5. A&T has an amazing computer science program, and also East Carolina has a computer science program as well. Okay, all right. So by the way, I also showed Campbell. Just a little side note with Campbell is that it's a private institution. I visited Campbell. I love the campus. I love the smaller sizes. So if you're transitioning from Wake Tech to a school like Campbell, it's great because you're used to the smaller sizes. And again, not to take away from any of the other universities, but faculty to student ratio is big for me. That's why I like Wake Tech model. That's key, right? We have smaller sizes, and so if you're looking for that, Campbell is again a very good one, but it is a private, so you have to kind of apply there and see what kind of scholarships or financial aid you could get there before you go. But that being said, Campbell has a very good program. Currently, they have chemical and mechanical, and I believe civil. Right, I have to check on their computer science for that. But those are the last time I visited them. Those were the three that they were highlighting and working on currently. Again, beautiful campus. But yeah, the schools that I mentioned could all help with your computer science if that's the focus. Okay. All right, I think that is all the questions that I got from the Q&A sessions. I'm going to stay on. As I mentioned, I will stay on here and just keep checking the Q&As to see if there are any other questions there. But if not, happy Advising Awareness Week. Take the opportunity to get enough help or advising as you can, right? Let faculty, let everybody know that this week is all about advising, and you need all the advising you could get, right? So, but again, I will be here. But thanks for taking the time. All right. Oh, I just got a question here. Any books you would recommend for students just getting into engineering? So they are actually trying to look on my shelf here for the intro to engineering class. There are books, really links that faculty send to the students to look at that talks about engineering. But one that probably helps is, if you can all still see this here, is the Keys to College Success. And it really talks about engineering and different skills that you need. So it's probably one that I would recommend that if you're looking for a book for intro or just engineering overall to use. Other than that, probably a lot of YouTube videos on why engineering. Just type why engineering, and then there are little short videos that kind of shows really some neat videos that shows different engineering and what innovation has been done there or has been planned to be designed, and I think that's also good as well. All right. Okay, so while we have a couple of minutes here, again, there is the Google Forms that is published that, if you all don't mind filling that out, that'll be good. But again, happy Advice and Awareness Week. I will still stay on for a couple more minutes before I sign on, and I will keep checking the Q&A here just in case. All right. Linda says, thank you, Dr. Chris. Have a nice day. Thank you as well. And I answered Booker's question about any books you would recommend for students just getting into engineering. I talked about that. So I think I pretty much covered almost all the questions. We don't need to publish any of them. All right.